So 2 days ago, I made a video about the whole Nexon versus Iron Mace lawsuit situation, which was not a good video. I made that video the day of like their fundraiser being paused, but it was rushed out because, fucking why not? Then I completely forgot about it and posted it the day before the 5th playtest, which I completely forgot about it because I remember they just didn't really update anyone on that, which I don't really get why. But anyways, the 5th playtest did happen and it was through a torrent link, which I don't really like that it was through a torrent link and I didn't play it. So here's a video that's a little bit better. So in July of 2021, the lead developer for P3 was fired and would later go on and lead Dark and Darker, which I think he can do since he got fired. He's not part of that company anymore, but we'll talk about that soon. On August 5th of 2021, Nexon reveals Project P3. August 9th of 2021, Terrence Park, director of game development at Nexon and head of the sub-team of Project P3, leaves Nexon and he's currently the CEO of Iron Mace. And I believe, because I couldn't really find a correct date for this, but somewhere between August and September, P3 was later scrapped and turned into Project P7. In October of 2021, Iron Mace was officially founded, and all the way until February 6th was when the first playable demo of Dark and Darker came out. Later that month, on the 16th, allegations that Dark and Darker uses assets and or code taken from P3 first appeared on a Korean gaming site. Then on the 25th of March, Dark and Darker is delisted from Steam following a DMC request from Nexon to Valve. Nexon alleges that concept art, code, and in-engine assets from P3 were all used in Dark and Darker. Also, that P3 and Dark and Darker project leader, Jin Hoon Cho, I hope I didn't fuck that up, illegally transferred a significant amount of development materials to a private server before being terminated. Nexon also alleges that Park and Cho encouraged P3 team members to leave Nexon for Iron Mace. Now that we got the timeline down, let's put a little bit more information and my own thoughts into it. Starting with the lead developer of P3, John Hoon Cho, being fired. Before he was fired, he was talking about leaving Nexon and moving on to make his own game company, which would later become Iron Mace, and talking about how he would like to pursue and expand on the P3 formula, which I think is something that, you can do if you're leaving a company and can expand on it. He also clarified to Nexon that it would be completely from scratch, which it was. I have a link down in the description to the code. That's when we move on to P3, where it was very first talked about in a document about new games coming out in a section called Project Early Stages, where the name was just listed, along with a couple screenshots of in-game. Project P3 would then later on and be scrapped, turning into Project P7, which was later revealed in March of 2021 to have either replaced or evolved out of P3, supposedly becoming more of a firearm-focused survival game than a extraction-style game like Dark and Darker and, P3. The only reason that we know that P3 was cancelled was due to Nexon coming out and saying 10 of the 23 employees left, supposedly going to Iron Mace to develop Dark and Darker. And during this time, while Nexon was hiring for people to work on Project P7, Dark and Darker was in development and then would later come out. The first playtest of Dark and Darker came out in early 2022, and its most recent, before the 5th playtest, the 4th playtest was in February of 6th. Then 10 days later, on February 16th, Nexon made allegations against Iron Mace, saying that they stole not only assets and code from Project P3. Nexon would later go on and hit Iron Mace with a copyright claim. There's one thing about these copyrights. They were filled out in mid-February of 2023, but the copyright states that the assets were being filled were created back in 2021, so essentially Nexon waited 2 full years to file a copyright for the assets. May I remind you that when these are fully completed, fully filled out, P3 is already cancelled, scrapped, not gonna happen anymore. To me, seeing this, how the copyrights were filed, then later with the DMCA and police raid, it just seems like Nexon got a little pissed off that Dark and Darker is getting more popular than the game that they were, working on. And then in early March, Nexon ordered a police raid on Iron Mace on the basis that Iron Mace stole code from Nexon. The police found no stolen code, anything of the sorts. The only thing that they did find is that, yes, half the team that was working on this P3 project was working on Dark and Darker. Nexon also issued a message to all employees, and this is what it says. We also found that Leader A has suggested to teammates of the P3 project that they quit the company and work together on a game similar to P3, citing outside investments and sources. Nexon also says that Leader A has been leaking company data, assets, and code that was originally for P3, but they've also said this all the way back in August of 2021, which makes me believe that this isn't a very concrete statement on anything. And on the 25th of March, Dark and Darker was delisted from Steam due to a DMCA request. In this DMCA request, Nexon alleges that concept art, code, and in-engine assets from P3 were all used in Dark and Darker. Additionally, that P3 and Dark and Darker project leader Jin Hoon Cho illegally transferred a significant amount of development materials into a private server before being terminated from Nexon. During this DMCA takedown, Iron Mace would go to their Discord and link not only spreadsheets that list out everything that was bought from the Unreal store, but also their Git logs from the first year of development on Dark and Darker. There's also something I just want to add in real quick. I think that Iron Mace is professional for, well, as professional as they can be in this type of situation. There was a comment in my old video about how they're not professional at all since they're releasing stuff to the public, which I gotta say that's not true. They can release all the information they want as long as it's not underlined in any sort of contract or legal document. They can release the information they want, but if it is, they can't. Also, in my original video, I brought up a fundraiser which was announced back in the very beginning of the month, which is when that video was recorded. That's why I don't even know why I fucking posted it. It's completely out of date. But anyways, there was a fundraiser which was later paused and hasn't gone back up. The reason for them pausing is because they said that it wasn't time. They planned to release this fundraiser at a completely different time, but it never got up. Now it's time for me to just like really talk about this whole situation, what I think. Now the playtest did happen yesterday, well today of this recording, and it's through a torrent, which I don't really know how to feel about that. It is through a torrent. I'm not going to download a torrent because I don't feel like having a torrent. I've been looking at both the Reddit and the Discord, and there has been nothing but, hey, this game is basically unplayable. It's very buggy, which I get. It's not through Steam. It's through like a weird third-party server, I'm pretty sure, if it's going through a torrent. But I'm also pretty sure that since the whole legal thing, they're not really having that much time to really work on the game. And with the asset stealing and code stealing that Nexon put onto Iron Mace, of course, Iron Mace came out with their whole spreadsheet of, hey, most of this from Unreal, which just shows that Iron Mace didn't steal anything from Nexon, along with the bit logs of the first year in development. Then there's also the trade secrets, which you can't really argue that they did since they're just making a game that's in the same genre. Where I stand right now is that Nexon is in the wrong since the people that are working on Darker Darker no longer work at that company, and they didn't start working on Darker and Darker until after they left the company. That's when they started, and I believe that Nexon would be in the right if they were still working there, but they're not. It's probably not going to matter anyway since there's a whole lawsuit going on that's costing millions of dollars, and I know Iron Mace doesn't have that much amount of money, so they're basically being forced to shut down. That's all I have to say, and if you like this video, like, comment, share, subscribe if you want, and if you didn't like it and you don't agree with me, comment. I'd like to hear your guys' side of the story, and dislike if you want. That's all I have to say today, and I'll see you next time. Have a good day. When I see your